member joining us via Zoom. This is Stefka, and if you want to just take a minute and kind of introduce yourself to us here virtually.
Yeah, sure. Hi guys, I'm Steph. I live in the center of town. I don't know what else to say. Sorry.
Yeah, that's great. Well, who we have here, we'll just go around the room real quick, Steph. My name is Dan Jewell. I'm currently the chair of the Finance Committee here. And yeah, I've been in town, I don't know, 13, 14 years. I forget. They kind of roll in. Been part of the Finance Committee now. This is my third budget cycle. Learned a lot about the town and the revenue it generates and the expenses that it incurs. And I'll go around the room here to
Hi.
Brian.
Hi, I'm Brian Inman. I live on Summer Street. And I've been on this committee for, I always say too long. Because I've been on here for a while. But enjoy it, and I certainly appreciate you joining the team because we have it's hard to get people to volunteer in the town. And it's appreciated when you do. Who's next?
I'm Eric Riker. I live on Washburn Road. Been on the Finance Committee for 3 cycles, maybe, something like that. Welcome.
I'm Leanne. I am on the Finance Committee this is my second year. I live on Woods Road, and yeah, we're excited to have you.
Yep. We also have 2 members that are not here today. Corey, he's MIA, and Carrie will likely be resigning due to conflicts with her job. So we may have another opening. It's not official yet, but I do want to thank Carrie for her time with the Finance Committee if she does choose to resign. And we appreciate her efforts as the clerk. Is that
Yes.
as a clerk for the committee. And as we get into it, we'll dive right into it. So we have the Felton Field Commission here in front of us. We will go with you folks first, right?
What's Steph's last name?
Steph, what's your last name?
Oh, Disla, Disla.
Should we come up there or just?
Wherever you're more comfortable. If you want to come up, come on up and join us. If you want to sit back there.
I think it would be more convenient for anybody at home because these are the microphones, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have, do they have copies?
Yes, everything that you sent me, they
Yeah,
have.
I believe I have all this.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
awesome.
I'll take a copy if you have one because I can't get my computer to work.
Certainly.
Thank you so much.
It's a straightforward and honest, sincere request for money. And your expenses went up, but a lot of that was for mowing. I'm considering the annual expenses now, the $6,000 we got last year in the budget. So, you know how everything's gone up. Plumbing went up significantly. That's another issue. Fire suppression went up a little bit, but, so 10.5 is an accurate expense for us. And the capital expenses, we want to put permanent gates up, and that's around $650. And the cameras, because every time we have a problem, the police come and say, where are your cameras? I say, we can't do nothing unless you get cameras. I mean, what are we supposed to do? So, and we know that.
We had significant damage down there last year.
Yeah, there was vandalism to the food booth.
That was
Right.
very significant.
But then we had stuff that wasn't significant, but yeah, bathroom problems. And then a car drove into the needs the plastic fence, and I was able to repair that, but a Mickey Mouse repair, and I'm gonna make more,
Speakers and sound system.
much better, right, you know.
Secretaries would too,
Yeah.
they smash it all the wooden windows.
Well,
They
not
just
a
walk
small
through and
thing,
throw a
yeah.
cement block through the windows, I mean, really?
But the police do say, without a camera, we
Yeah.
can do it.
And we talked with Spectrum,
Yes.
and they had a great system, but it was gonna cost $400 a month.
Yeah, it was
It
really
was cool
expensive.
stuff.
I'm
And
sure
the
it is great.
cameras would, you know, they sent something and the cameras would spin around, zoom in, you know, call the police, it was awesome. But it was way too much money for us. So we can get a system and, offer Wi-Fi and get our own system, and it would be about $4,000, that's the,
Now, is that a one-time expense, or is there a server space that needs to be rented?
no, that's a
Oh,
one
yeah,
time.
it won't need Wi-Fi.
Huh?
It won't need Wi-Fi.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so we gotta pay
That'll
so
be
much a
the-
month through to Spectrum, $60 or
But
something.
yeah, I think it's not much, but
If they ever give it to us.
if they ever give it to us, that's our push and pull with Spectrum is trying to ever get them to.
Right, I mean, we just
follow
need Wi-Fi
through.
there, and,
Well, why do they need Wi-Fi? The camera's gonna be Wi-Fi?
yeah, you know, because it just, you know, because it's
It's a high
2020.
wire from one building to the other building. It's not feasible.
Well, then you have to have a server on site as well, and then if that gets vandalized, you just lost all your camera information, right?
No, I mean, you can do it without it, but with Wi-Fi, it's,
So why is the wire running not feasible?
What's that?
Why is running
We
the
don't have
wire?
the money for that, we just think. The guy who made it sound like it was gonna be super expensive. He goes, why would you want a hardwire when I could do Wi-Fi now?
so Wi-Fi would be the cheapest way to go, and, but we just need it, and it would be like a $60 a month expense. But,
We're not asking for that.
Huh?
We're not asking for that, we're just
No.
asking for camera.
so, that's
How many
why,
cameras are there? How
We
many
were talking
cameras?
about four?
I think he was talking 4, maybe only 2.
So you'd be looking to do like a CapEx, like, on the town meeting as a warrant? Is that what you're asking to do, looking to do?
Yes.
So that brings it to 15, and now, we now have like 6 in our account, but we'd like to keep that for whatever comes up, because something's always coming up.
Mm-hmm.
The toilets and the things in there is, we're always having a problem, and urinals and whatnot.
The plumbing expense went up
Yeah.
astronomically.
Yeah, what's the plumbing what are all, could you tell what these expenses are for? Like propane is obviously only used when you're, Cooking, right?
Yes.
cause there's no heat, so isn't that recovered by assessing a rental fee to the building or
Oh,
recovered?
yes, we do have rental field to the building, but it's, $75 for a weekend. It
It's-
doesn't really cover it.
How much did you bring in
Right,
last
but it
year?
should cover
About
propane and
$3
electric
grand.
and these expenses, we should be able to make sure we cover them by use of the building.
Well, we'll
Well,
probably
we-
gonna have to
Not
go-
cleaning and painting would be necessarily, but fire
Well,
suppression must be maintained.
we do,
I assume.
we have the potential this year of making, with what we have right now, about 3,600.
Field doesn't make money though, it's not a,
No,
it's
no.
not something that makes money.
4-H is leading us this year also.
Do the riding and driving clubs, do they pay anything when they rent?
Well, they
Yes.
do, yes.
So they should,
Yeah, and they help us out a little bit here and there,
And,
but,
and our fees are comparable to all the other fields, local fields around, except for the Spencer Fair, we can't compete with them obviously, but their fairgrounds is completely different.
well, our fees are very reasonable, and, but there's a fine line there, you know?
what's like, you know, you said the plumbing expenses are up,
Well, to winterize it this year was $1,200.
Okay, so that's your type of winterizing expenses for
Well,
the.
Yeah, those are our only expenses.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
But your
Plumbing expense, I'm like,
Yeah.
what?
Oh, your
Plumbing's
increase,
there, what do we
your
use it?
increase on the annual
It's
budget,
winterizing.
you're not looking for an increase on the annual, you're just looking for additional for the capital purchases.
Correct.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you're looking to just level fund, because I'm looking at your annual expenses, and that's pretty much level funded
Yeah.
with what
Yeah,
you had last year. So,
right,
yeah, my recommendation for the capital, the budget's gonna be tight this year.
Right.
It's gonna be very tight. Everyone's costs are going up across the board. Like, I don't know if we'll be able to squeeze, $4,000 into the budget, especially for a one-time purchase, right? The budget's really for your annual purchases, your mowing, the electricity, stuff like that you're using down in the field. That one-time CapEx, that's really where I would look to put an article, if I were you, on the town warrant, when that opens up, to ask the town for funding to put the cameras in.
Oh, okay, yeah, no, that's perfectly fine. We just,
Yeah.
in order just to, we don't really need, us physically, we don't need cameras, but like you said, the police department's the ones that are asking.
It's
Well,
to
for
it's to the town's benefit for
Right.
sure, and we
Absolutely.
certainly, the board would support that at a meeting.
Yeah.
And, two different things, obviously, the levy limit for what we tax is what we try to keep our budget, and we're gonna make a special purchase like this, here's where free cash can come in, or a capital purchase stabilization, a different account to take the pool out of without, messing with the allocation we get to spend each year. So it'd be a great place to do it at town meeting, I don't think there'd be any problem.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to, free cash and what else. If there's a budget surplus, which probably not gonna be a significant surplus this season, not this year, not with the cost of everything, and the overtime expenses. There's challenges that the town's gonna have against meeting the budget with inflation exceeding the rate so quickly.
right.
The electricity's gone up, we talked about it the last meeting. There's been staffing changes over at the police department, staffing changes at the treasurer collector's office. Those departments incurred increased costs for bringing in interim positions. Yeah, it's gonna be down to the nitty gritty at the end. Yeah, and you're also looking for windows, right? And you have $20,000, so the windows are all set, that's correct, at the 20,000?
Pretty much, it's just, labor and, we didn't wanna get into that. this
Okay.
year.
Look
then
for
we-
help, community help doing it, cause I'd be glad to come up with windows, put windows in.
Yeah,
And I'm sure there's lots of builders in town that would put, turn down a
How do
couple
you
hours.
do that when you consider you have to?
We're supposed to pay prevailing wage, though, how do you ask for that?
Volunteer, you do it
Volunteers.
as
Yeah.
a volunteer day for local community
There's no
service.
problem with that with insurance or anything else?
Depends what you're doing, I mean, it depends who comes down and does it, obviously, if I come volunteer, I'm insured as a business contractor anyways, and what I do is covered by my insurance.
Okay,
Um,
just we've got it in a hard time from the building inspector once before.
Yeah, I've talked to him about that, and I understand why, and that will happen
Yep.
again. The whole glitch in that was he's not in the office on Friday, so if they call for an inspection Thursday, and he happens to make it there Thursday, and it doesn't pass inspection, he's back Monday.
Alright.
So he asks them to make sure that it's ready for Wednesday, so we can inspect, and if need be, he come back and re-inspect Thursday. That was the gist of that when I talked to him about CY, and I said, next time, just once again, you can reach out to me, and I'd be glad to organize that and work on that. At least I'll understand why he's asking for what he's asking.
Yep.
It's different for someone who's in construction than someone who's not. Don't know what they're doing and why, but I think he'd be, if I wanna go pull a permit, I can pull a permit. If we do an intertown permit without a fee, that's easy enough.
Yep.
And, that would be his concern, is a permit pull and someone that's got, qualifications to do it, so.
Yep.
If you have windows, then I can come with sometime, go down to see what you got.
we gotta work on windows.
Windows and the roof, you have an estimate here. So, does the roof need a structural repair? Is that why it's so
Not
expensive?
yet, but it's 30 years old.
Okay.
So, we just need shingles, but we do need, one half needs to be plywood.
When-
And that's what this.
That's the high expense.
But, because it's a town building, I'm not sure how that, well, I don't see us putting that on a Felton Field budget.
How did that work? Because the town hall came in
Yeah.
way less than 33, right? That came in,
That was 2 years ago too.
yeah,
So was this a quote from Kid Luco?
Yep.
Yeah.
okay.
So
Amazing.
I don't
That's.
have
aggressive.
any doubt that
Yeah.
it's just inflation.
Yeah, okay.
Still, that's not a high price for that size roof.
Yeah, no, it's a big building.
That's a large roof in that building, that's a
Yep.
But
very,
it is the same,
Yeah.
same company.
That's another thing for that expense. It's not something you could just throw into the budget.
Right.
That's, you have to ask the town. You know, it's either gonna be part of the capital plan, which I don't think it is part of the capital plan for the Petrucci building. So if it's not part of the capital plan, the next step would be to ask the town for funds and let them vote on it at town meeting.
How do you do that?
You gotta, when the select board opens up the warrant for the town meeting, you have to apply for, you have to put in an article, and that's what everyone votes for at town meeting. You know, we vote for the budget,
Yeah, like we did the mowing last year.
the fire truck, you know, the fire trucks, the ambulances, you know, the fire chief, police chief, put in for their equipment. It'd be the same concept for you. You have to get up, present to the town.
Right.
You know, we do a public hearing, the finance committee, I should say, does a public hearing 2 weeks prior, I think. It's 2 weeks prior to
2
annual
weeks.
town.
Mhm.
So it'd behoove, if you were interested in doing an article, it'd behoove you to be present for that as well, to answer any questions. And then present it at town, and let the town decide. You know, obviously, the finance committee would make their decision, of recommending it or not recommending it, truly on a financial basis. You know, it's nothing like, hey, I'd love to see brand new stuff in town, but like when there's no dollars in there, so you gotta kind of, this year's gonna be one of those years where you have to pick your battles and where you can put the money.
Well, I want personally going to get up on the roof and give it a look-see and see. Just gonna go, we're gonna go another year, you know,
Yeah.
or do we want to battle this year?
But it's a whole separate thing from the finance,
Yes.
it's a whole
It-
separate.
you
Yeah.
can go half and half, you know, if one side is worse than the other, you can strip and replace one half. And just recap it, so if one's really okay, if one's really getting bad, then we go after that half. Then bring it up to town meeting and maybe, you know, try for one each year, but you
Right.
guys, if you write an article out that says, you know, to raise and or whatever, require funds, borrow, beg, whatever, for the roof, I forget the phrasing.
Yeah,
Raise appropriate or borrow funds for, replacing half of the roof of the TC building at the town field. And then there's 2 ways for town meeting, get 10 signatures and place it on the warrant, or you can just bring it to the select board and ask us to place it on the warrant.
Right.
And for individuals, we won't, but for committees, we'll put it on the warrant typically without any problems, you don't have to go get people to sign.
Right,
But
okay.
we don't do it for general population, because then it becomes our article, and it's theirs, not ours.
Sounds good.
now, with that building in the field, there's historic significance. Is there any grants or funding available to you?
Well,
We have a meeting this Sunday with the grant writer.
Okay,
Um,
because it's also the Barre Savings Bank,
Yes.
We've
they're,
got one from them already
okay,
to make repairs to the jockey room, and that's all been done.
Steve Brew has been very, very intent to try to spend some money out of their fund, their grant that they have every year for it, and I'm sure he'd be interested in that building staying, especially if we're talking about risk damage, and that may be a great way. I mean, they're spending the money, they're spending like, I don't know, is it $30,000 or $70,000 a year they're giving out in grants for different things, and
Well,
You
they
know.
have given us one already.
it doesn't matter, they give them to those local towns every year. They
it's
have-
one of those things you have to ask.
Yeah.
I would ask.
It's on the board.
Yeah.
You may know somebody.
I would ask Steve Brewer about that,
Or-
about the TC building, and let him look at the roof, get some pictures of the condition of the half the roof, so, you know, if we can even get half done this year, and they may very well, come up with grant money for it.
well, we were fortunate, we had you remember his name? Eagle Scout,
Oh, Hunter,
Hunter Casey.
yes, the Eagle Scout did a project down there, they painted a lot, he did a very, very nice job.
We repaired some rotten boards and trim, and, repainted it all and stuff, so
Oh, very nice.
They did very nice.
that was
However,
very helpful.
we had to pay for the paint, which is not cheap.
It cost us $800 in paint.
Yeah,
Mm.
Oh,
thanks.
seriously?
It's not
Depending what
cheap.
you buy, it can cost $100 a gallon now, like you buy Proud Lambert paint.
But they,
Yeah,
$100 a
it
gallon.
was crazy.
they did a great, they did a great job.
That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that.
Yes.
It's crazy what it
So that was
costs.
good.
Yeah, I think I seen some of that on social media,
Yes.
some of his work, so that's good.
Tried to
I think he
build
just
up a little
accomplished
bit.
his Eagle rank too, so good
Yes.
for him.
So we need another one to do the roof.
That's a big Eagle Scout project, you know?
That's one of those things of liability we're not gonna get kids to.
So do you have any more questions?
No, I mean, the only other suggestion, also, you know, I don't know if Monty Tech would do anything for the town. That's always an option as well to look at.
They just did insulation of the fire station. The fire station basically bought the materials, and they came down and did the insulating the exterior of the building. So,
Because we're part of their district. I went to Bay Path many moons ago when I was in high school, and, you know, our carpentry
My
department.
wife's on the committee over there.
Yeah.
Talk to her.
You know, so I think there's definitely options, especially for your situation, being, you know, a commission of a field with historic significance.
It is a registered historic.
Yeah, I feel you have a lot of options as well, that could help you for your cause, above and beyond just like what the taxpayers can contribute as well.
Like I said, we do have an appointment on Sunday to meet with the grant writer, see what she can do for us,
and the windows were donated.
by, Barre Fair Committee.
Okay, so there's good things for the town too, when you come to it, if we'd have to go and ask the town for the money, say, well, you know, we've got the windows donated by this, and we've done this donated, and an Eagle Scout for that, and we're down to this last piece, we really need to save the building, then the town sees you making efforts also to do stuff on your own and get stuff covered, and, you know, you can say, we've tried the tech, we've tried this, and we need it, and.
Well, the windows weren't donated per se, it was, the Barre Fair Committee. The Barre Fair, is defunct, and they had $20,000 left in their coffers, and so they gave it to Felton Field.
Good.
Only for the DC building,
Right.
yes.
Well, that's good though, that's.
Yeah.
Oh, it's awesome.
Then let
Yeah.
it sit there.
Yeah,
for-
it's great.
And everything's working out well for you with the mowing and the maintenance?
Awesome.
Okay.
Well, this year, nothing
And-
approved.
and Rich, oh, it's great, because we would do it, but it would take us a week, and when we were finally done, it needed mowing again. So,
Yeah.
As hard as we worked, it didn't look as nice as what he does.
so they come in a day, and it's all mowed and weed whacked, and it's just beautiful. And he came in with the same bid as last year, this year.
That's always a
What
plus.
are they charging to mow it for the year?
Nothing. What is it, $6,000?
$6,000.
Yeah, it's pretty cheap for doing the whole place.
Yeah.
We do have town mowers, but,
We went
convincing
that.
them to pick up
Yeah,
extra
it does-
stuff would be,
it doesn't work.
getting them to do extra would be difficult.
Yes.
Sometimes I watch Rice Park turn into a hayfield before they come mowing, I'm like, what's going on? But
Anybody, Steph, do you have any questions for the Felton Field Commission?
So I was wondering, for the cameras, are we able to fundraise for that to get them their cameras?
Yeah, fundraising is always an option, I'm sure. It's, that's something that the town wouldn't pursue, but the commission could pursue, or a private citizen could pursue.
You could have a food sale.
Big sale.
Yeah, like, I don't know, maybe we can try to come up with an idea, cause, I mean, $4,000 does seem like a lot, but it seems like something maybe doable.
But let us know.
Yeah, I'll buy a pie.
Well, decent cameras are the challenge, I mean,
Yeah.
camera systems, you can go to BJ's and grab 4 cameras for
Yeah.
$500, but they're really not the quality you want for.
Especially
For
outdoor.
identification.
Yeah. This outdoors is an even bigger challenge
Well,
because
they work outdoors still, but
Yeah.
they're
Green.
you know, the-
Ice, rain.
And that was the thing
ability
too,
to zoom
from
in.
Spectrum said, if one of the cameras is damaged, you know, we'll be right out there and replace it immediately, you know.
Get it in writing.
And it was,
yeah.
even if they
Well,
did it, though,
$400
it was
a
still
month, you got to go.
$400 a month.
Yeah.
Still, it's easy
But you
to
know how
do
that
those
goes.
things.
I mean, I even stopped renting modems and routers from those folks because I feel they don't keep up with the firmware updates and all those other things that go involved in having a good home internet.
Well, it's
I-
been months and we don't have Wi-Fi
Except they
yet.
say, we'll talk to you over the phone on it, put it in.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Well, they sent me a notice saying that there's a problem with mine, they didn't make an appointment, so I made the appointment, the service tech will call you so many hours for it, never called, never came.
Mm.
So, that's whatever the issue is.
Well, I thank
Thank
you
you.
all
Yeah,
for your
thank
time and,
Great job.
yeah.
All right, thank you
Thank
for
you.
listening to us.
Oh, yeah.
Bye, guys.
All right, well, let's see, we're gonna go down through the list here. Because they were here, I skipped over the meeting minutes. We'll circle back around to that at the end. So Felton Field, youth recreation, I received an email. You wanna just highlight that for everyone, Jessica? You have that?
Yes, yeah, oh, I thought I had included it
upstairs.
in the packet.
Oh, did we include that? I don't know.
But I just looked to read it and it's not included,
No.
so I will.
Okay.
So essentially, Mary Ann Gendron, who kind of facilitates the recreation in the South Barre Common committee, she sent an email to Dan last Thursday, just letting the finance committee know that the South Barre Common Committee is level funded at $500. It covers up the porta potty for the summer, which the highlight for them is the summer concert series. The Quabbin Band, so the Quabbin Band, when they play in South Barre, they have Animal Adventure Day, Family Fun Days, Yard Sale, you know, all of those events that occur at Nornade Park. So the porta potty is just a level of convenience for residents and visitors who go down to Nornay. And then the Recreation Committee is also level funded at $6,000, which continues to cover the Quabbin Youth Basketball Skills Programs, swimming lessons, new Life Assembly of God, Animal Adventure Day, which is put on by the library. The Christmas in Barre has a marching band every year, and then 2 of the summer concerts at Nornay Park. I want to say they usually have around 10 during the summer, so 2 of those would be covered by the Recreation Committee. And it's essentially the Recreation Committee fund acts as a grant. So these different associations, like the Quabbin Youth Basketball, Christmas in Barre, they apply for the funding to help offset some of the costs that they have with putting on their programming. So that is South Barre Common Recreation Committee.
I mean, I don't have any questions. I mean, Steph, do you have any questions on that? Because I know how it is being new, and especially your first meeting, you probably have a million questions, as I did. So, you know, feel free to chime in, because it looks like for the rest of today, it's kind of a overall light schedule, where there's no major departments here. Like when we start having our conversation with the bigger departments, like the police department, fire department, DPW, and the school committee, which they joined us last meeting for their first time, and we'll probably see them at least once, maybe even twice more throughout this process. They'll take up some more time, but some of these other departments are low funding, and they kind of already presented to us a few times. I'm not really looking for additional stuff, but if you have any questions, feel free to chime in.
Oh, sorry, it wasn't on meeting for a second. Yeah, definitely. I don't think I have anything as of right now. I think everything is pretty cut and dry.
Awesome.
Christmas in Barre, you want to take us through Christmas in Barre?
Yeah, so again, Christmas in Barre, they are level funded this year. So this funding helps fund like putting the lights up, putting some of the decorations up that the committee doesn't do themselves and they contract out. And that's mostly just the lights that you see around town. And so they have a contract that is renewed every 3 years, and I want to say we're in year 2 of that contract, and again, it's the same same cost as last year of $2,500.
Okay. And they put on a pretty good event.
Yeah, I think that's another committee that we can recognize. Again, we've recognized Felton Field for their work, not necessarily relying on taxpayer dollars to fund everything that they do, but the Christmas and Barre group, they are another example of a committee in town that they go, above and beyond to get grants and fundraising and other sorts of funding, because this type of work that they do costs more than $2,500 a year. But that $2,500 is just that little extra that they can't guarantee that they're going to get in fundraising every year. So as good partners with them, we have been faithful in funding their budget for many years.
Good. Yeah, I know they do the boot drive. I think they got a grant for like $4,000 last year as well from, was it Barre Savings?
Yep, they do Barre Savings, Charitable Foundation. They do, I want to say there's a couple of other like cultural type grants out there that they look for and apply to, and yeah.
Council on Aging. She's usually here,
Yeah,
but
I
we
didn't
didn't
hear back from her.
Okay. We'll have to revisit with Elaine, right?
Eileen.
Eileen, I was close.
Yep.
All right, and the select board, who is it?
I'll review the select board budget. Mostly, let's see, we'll start right with the select board stipends, level funded, select board expenses, level funded. The select board expenses that will generally go towards, a lot of it goes towards my trainings throughout the year. I go to a number of conferences, and educational opportunities, like upholding my public procurement purchasing certification. So that goes into the, our expense budget, along with some other small purchases that just don't make sense to come out of the Henry Woods building. So going on to the next budget, we have the town administrator salary and the administrative assistant salary. Level funded, I am a contracted employee, so that fluctuates based off of negotiations. And then my assistant, she is not due for a step, so she's level funded until we determine what a COLA will look like this year. Going on to the legal counsel budget, we have labor counsel is level funded. We have them on retainer, and it's $750 a month, and that takes us through basically every service that we could request of them up until like litigation. Luckily, we never go to litigation. We don't ever get anywhere close to litigation, so we don't need to budget anything extra there. Legal counsel, we did see kind of a steep increase in that budget from $12,000 this year to $18,000. That's just where our contract with KP Law came in, and I am drawing a blank on what they came in for their monthly retainer, but it's somewhere around $1,200 to $1,500 a month.
Yes, we had to get a new law firm, a real law firm. We've lost the luxury of Jim Beard doing it for us for all these
Yeah.
years, so
Yeah.
that's an expected hit.
Yeah. So we've been anticipating this for a while, and we weren't sure exactly where that was going to come in, just because trying to secure KP Law, which they are the leading legal counsel in Massachusetts. With that comes sometimes a delay in them getting back to you. So last year when we were doing the budget, I was having a really hard time, getting them to respond, so we could retain them for legal counsel, and I wasn't sure exactly what those expenses were going to be. Luckily this year, I don't anticipate we're going to go over the budget, but for next year we will have them for the full fiscal year, and that's what I anticipate it will cost.
So for the fiscal year we're in,
Yep.
we had them, at the 16,000, and that was that like a per diem basis or?
That is, so we have them,
Or the 12,000, I'm sorry.
yes, so we have them on retainer right now
Mhm.
for that $1,500 a month. It just didn't start until like for
Okay.
later in the fiscal year than I would
Yeah.
have liked. So on one hand, it will save us on the budget side. On the other hand, luckily we didn't need labor counsel or legal counsel for those couple of months. But we're in the green now.
Okay. And so that's an increase, an overall increase of prior by $6,000.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
Moving on to IT. IT tends to be one of those budgets that we have a challenge in determining exactly what it's going to cost us for a year because the needs fluctuate. We have replacement plans for computers and certain hardwares, but sometimes things come up unexpectedly. A printer dies, and a printer is $800 a whack, or a computer that isn't supposed to, be replaced, needs to be replaced. So we try and manipulate the budget in those instances. But I do know, we are contracted with a managed service with CM Geeks. Contractually, their rates are going up, and their rates basically cover, we have Gmail, Google Suite, and every month that's $18 per user. That went up from $12, so an additional $6 per user every month. And then also our IT does general maintenance, kind of like IT wellness checks every month, and just to have them on retainer, that's that fee included or increased. And then there's another layer to our IT budget that we are going to see an increase in, and that's a requirement from our insurance company. So we do have cyber security insurance, and every year they kind of tweak what the cyber security insurance, what they require of us in order to cover us. And this year, their requirement, I'm not an IT person, so I don't know exactly. I couldn't explain what this is, but it's going to cost an additional $6,300 a year for us to have this. It's called EDR, and it just provides extra cybersecurity for us. Dan, you're more of an IT person than me.
I was gonna say, I'm sorry, Jessica, can you repeat what you said it was called?
It's called EDR.
Do you know what the acronym stands for? No.
No.
Do you guys have an IT person? I'm just wondering.
We have a contracted service. So we contract with a company called CM Geeks, and they provide 24/7, 365 support to our all of our municipal buildings, police, fire, dispatch, and we're in a regional contract with another town and our dispatch.
Oh, okay.
Why do you ask?
No, because I'm wondering, because that's pretty much what my husband does for work, and it seems like you guys are paying a lot for something that isn't even guaranteed at that point.
It does, and we may be expanding, which
What's that?
Jessica.
What part's not guaranteed?
In my head, I'm just like, you're paying a lot for inflation. Like the prices are going up and up and up, and this EDR, I've never heard of it, and neither has he as of right now. So I'm wondering what that is.
It's called endpoint detection and response.
So that's like okay.
Yeah, it's a, I mean, I just Google it. Yeah, it's a business type security, and I mean, there's probably
Yeah.
the keep, because there are sensitive documents that the town keeps,
Yeah.
and you want to make sure someone doesn't
Not to mention approximately $14 million.
in funds.
At least.
Yeah. So essentially, cyber security has become a really big issue in municipalities over the past couple of years because we have been such a vulnerable target. And a lot of cities and towns nationwide have lost literally, I mean, we're talking documents, our elections are done on our not all done on our computers, but a lot of work that goes around elections happen on our computers. Obviously all of our emails where we, we have a lot of communications between the states, other towns, staff, everything. So we've been a very vulnerable target over the past number of years, and the insurance company that we work with, they insure almost every city and town, and they just keep adding on more requirements in order for us to maintain our insurance. And but in the event that we need to use that insurance and recover, any,
It's good to have.
yeah, it's very, very important to have.
No, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I work for MWRA, so we go through cybersecurity and everything like that as well.
So Jessica, our current year expenses are trending up
Yes.
on IT.
Yep.
Are we gonna come in
We're gonna be open this year.
over, or is that gonna tail off? Was there something?
So the software account, that should tail off a lot of times. What happens is we pay, it depends on what the software is. Sometimes we pay quarterly, sometimes we pay semi-annually, sometimes we pay one lump sum. But those software expenses go up. We have a number of different softwares for our financial offices, for, in the town clerk's office. And so we have a lot of different softwares. Everything, as we're gonna see this year, is going up. And then the IT expense budget, I am keeping an eye on it, but again, it goes back to, we have our, we have CM Geeks, but they don't, what we pay every month to them doesn't cover every time that they need to come out on site to address an issue with a printer, an issue with a computer, onboarding, a new staff member. So they're a really good partner to work with, but that contracted rate doesn't cover everything that they do, and sometimes it's just hard to predict what what we're gonna need them for every year. And it does seem like as the world we live in becomes more computerized and more complicated, we do need their services more frequently.
What I don't see here yet, Jess, is something we can talk about on the board, is the possibility of hiring somebody for IT, because as we all know, at town meeting, we voted to videotape all meetings, and they have to be in our current, Rick Deegan will not take on more work, he cannot take on more work, so we have to look into hiring somebody. It was what the board's talking about. They can put them online for us, so whether that turns out being more of a regional position that we can hire parts off to another town, or we just get someone for part-time hours, we're gonna need to hire someone for IT that's going to be able to maybe manage our Facebook as well and other things, but at least get all these videos that we're gonna hopefully, we're leaning towards laptops, I think right now, record meetings. Take those and post them and maintain them on YouTube, which means, a YouTube account and a monthly fee for that. I don't think that's too bad. But no one in the office has that skill to do that, or the time to do it on a regular basis, so there's going to be some kind of expense that's not here in any way yet, but it's probably gonna come up in this budget, because we're gonna have to make some sort of action on this soon.
There's gonna be.
Unless the town comes to
Yeah.
meeting and says, you know what, forget it, we're doing without it, no one's doing it, and drop it.
Yeah, I mean, there were workarounds though, and we talked about I forget if we talked about this last meeting or last year. I mean, that's an entire generation of kids that live their lives on TikTok, right? I mean, to
But we can't
record something.
base town
and-
bylaw on workarounds on high school kids.
No,
We
no,
have
I'm
to
just
make
saying
it-
is,
You know what I mean?
you can to record something and pay someone, like, we could record this meeting right here on this computer
Right.
and upload it to YouTube in about 5 minutes.
But we need the account, and we need somebody to actually do the uploading. And some committees are comfortable doing that, most committees are not, is what we're finding, is most committees are uncomfortable and unprepared, and they're doing nothing to proactively meet the bylaws. So it's being left to the select board to make some availability so that these committees can meet the town's bylaw. And I think as stewards of the town, that we have that obligation
No, I
to
agree.
try to make it so that the other committees can meet that obligation. And so far, that's looking at some sort of laptops and some sort of IT professional that's gonna be able to put these up for us, so.
It's gonna be hard. This budget's gonna be hard.
I know it's
I
gonna
don't,
be hard, but
there's gonna have to be concessions in other departments to make that work. Like, the numbers are just not gonna work out this year.
I understand it's gonna be a tough year. I think I said this last year when the school came back for the $125,000 extra, I said, folks, that's 125 now, which stays for next year, so we're 125 in the hole, 250 in the hole, plus increases. They're gonna put us in a $100,000 hole for the town giving them that money last year beyond the recommended budget. And, you know, personally, I recommend we go back to the budget we proposed with an increase on that, and recommend that the town go back to the budget we proposed the prior year with a proper increase, and not I get frustrated every year, I say the school has a certain percentage of our budget, and that's the amount we allowed them to keep. When they jump a higher percentage, you know, they sort of maintain 7 buildings in the personnel, and this town maintains another 8 buildings, that if you look at what all the towns maintain together, we maintain probably 5 times the buildings and 3 times the staff as the school does for a quarter of the money.
Yeah, well, the town doesn't, there's an opportunity for the town to work with the school district as well, with like municipality agreements, and they possibly have the ability to take on things like the YouTube.
Well, in the IoT we talked about, that's one thing to look at,
Exactly.
possibly go there with it, but there's gonna be some sort of item for that, there's gonna be some sort of computer expense to purchase, we have to purchase some devices, and we're gonna have to at least have a YouTube account, whatever meager expense that is, and likely we're gonna have to pay
Do we-
somebody something, whether it's through the school or not.
Don't we already have a YouTube account though, the town of
No.
Barre?
It's
So-
Rich Deegan's personal account that he puts that stuff on.
Oh, but it's labeled as the town of Barre.
Right. Yeah, because he works for a number of different towns and has just been managing it through his account
Okay.
over the years.
And we really gotta put that in our own.
Yeah, no.
Town account.
Yeah, I understand that.
It may wind up being a relatively small number to get a few laptops and a YouTube account and pay somebody a few hours to do it.
The laptop, I mean, the
Something.
equipment I feel is easier. It's adding a position, especially this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we're already, you know, as you know, police department's way over overtime,
Right.
DPW's over overtime. We're not gonna come out on top this budget cycle because of all the added expenses.
Mhm.
It's gonna be tough.
It is
So-
gonna be tough, and like I said, if, you know, when you look at over this 2 years, a $300,000 increase in school that we were budgeting for, that would settle all these problems. So, you know, once again, I always argue, Maureen and I are the opposite on this. but
Yeah,
I always argue that the school is, you know, not budgeting, they're saying, here's what we want to run for the year, and they get it. They don't, you know, we can say what we want to run for the year in this town, and, you know, it's gonna be a lot higher than, not huge, but, you know, give us an extra $500,000, we can make this budget smooth. And that would be the school's opinion, typically, we need this $500,000, and
Yeah,
the
but you should-
125, like I said, the 125,000 last year,
well, that's.
last year plus this year's
Yeah,
two.
that's because they missed us. I mean, I think everyone can agree, the school, and I don't want to get too far off track here, but the school, they did not properly assess the 2 years in COVID. We came out with a number at the end that probably would have likely matched a 3-year assessment. And that, the issue is they gave the town a 0% assessment in 2020. And then they gave a 1% assessment in 2021.
We're paying.
So then you're basically, they mismanaged their assessments to the towns, not just the town of Barre, all the towns within the district.
Well, they also didn't so much need those years. Well, I don't know, and I don't know how the budget worked for people working from home versus,
Well, I mean,
you know,
yeah.
it was screwy years for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
Um,
You just gotta learn from those experiences and move on, but
But I always say simple logic, as you look at the percentage of our budget, they were holding about 56% of our budget, and I have no problem with that.
51%.
What's that?
51% of the budget is what the
Last
school
year?
has. Yes, 51%.
Well,
Do you want-
schools, I should say.
Yeah, well, with Monty Tech, I think it's 52. Monty Tech's not a lot. It's, what is 50? Our percentage for the rural community is less
Yes.
than most other communities of our size, just so you know. A lot of other communities, like Rutland and Paxton, they're paying about 55, 56%. We're paying about 5% less than that towards the schools.
That's good.
But, I mean, you know the challenges with the schools. It's all mandates. It's kind of like what's going on with the police
Mandated.
department with this full-time police officers and getting rid of the part-timers. The state mandates are putting pressure on us, on the communities. Because now you don't have the revenue, 2.5% is not gonna be enough to cover all these mandates. You know?
Inflation goes up 6%, 7%.
Yeah,
Not to mention other required costs, which I will get into
yeah.
soon.
Well, we
today.
we could talk about that, I mean, for hours upon end, the school committee was here, the superintendent, I should say, was here last meeting. And, they're looking to have a very proactive approach this year, so we're not almost blindsided with a large assessment. But they don't know the numbers. They're looking for some help from the state. They brought up it's like a rural school bill that's in with the legislator of the state, and that could be, if that passes, it could be very beneficial to the school. So, I mean, I would say, as a voter, and it's like, that's something you want to get behind, and as that goes to the floor of the State House, and say, hey, because that would benefit Quabbin. We're a rural school district. That state funding comes in, that's gonna help lower the assessments and help give the schools more money from the state side, rather than coming out of our side of the budget. It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough, because I feel like they're gonna come in with an assessment. This is just my opinion. I don't have facts with the numbers. It's probably gonna be close to like a 4 to 5% over last year. Looking at just the average inflation rates, they're in labor
Which
negotiations.
takes up our town's
Yeah.
entire, levy increase, and that's why I say,
Yeah,
we get a certain levy increase, and the school should get their percentage of that increase and have to budget it. Just as we have to budget the rest, Prop 2.5 is all about that, was limiting expenses, limiting how much you re-tax and charge in town, and limiting the school's ability to hit towns up. That's what 2.5 is all about when it came around. And, people trying to push the limits and get around it instead of stay within, it's always been frustrating to me. That's
No,
always-
I agree.
always been
It's-
that battle.
my,
The school's ED this year was 1.5 million?
we didn't get deep into that, but I think it was like it was about 1.5.
So they really needed that 100,000 from us last year, huh?
It's something to look into. I mean, they have the capital.
But this is
yeah.
what I'm saying, is, we pay it out, it obviously impacts our budget massively. To them, it's a little extra in the E&D, and they keep it, they don't give anything back. And I would say we didn't need to give them that 125,000, they could have made do with what we offered them, and our budget wouldn't be in this position right now, because we'd have that 125, we wouldn't be repeating it, we would have, if not the money in the budget levy, at least more free cash coming from, we'll be pulling out of.
I mean, the
last year.
schools, our free cash situation is not to be, the school's not the issue for the town's free cash at the point, right?
No, but I'm saying that certainly would.
It would help, but you gotta prioritize where the issues are with free cash, and that the schools that's not the issue with free cash right now.
I didn't say it was, I said it would give us more, we need to increase levy or free cash. I didn't say they would
It
issue
could,
for
it
free
could.
cash. I'm saying if they didn't grab that extra 125,000, which they clearly did not.
But I feel like you're jumping like the conversation, because you have to have free cash to be talking about having extra free cash.
We had free cash, it went to that,
But we're not there, we don't even have free cash.
I mean, last year, but to that. If it's pre-assumed in the budget this year, then, yeah, it's gonna make sure we don't.
But the point is, the town doesn't have free cash right now. Didn't have free cash for 22, right? Doesn't have free cash yet for 23.
Getting close, though.
Getting close.
So they keep telling us.
I mean, I'm just saying, that could be the thing, but we have to have the free cash
The
first.
first free cash here came in because during COVID, we postpone those tax payments, and those tax payments came in after the end of the year. That held at $200,000 and some odd that we used at town meeting, we weren't allowed to. So we had to go back and
Yeah.
have another meeting and vacate our free cash to cover that debt. So we get rid of our free cash that year, we had not enough to play with. And that's what started our downfall with that, but the next year wasn't certified timely. That's, what we keep getting into.
Hopefully moving forward though, the town just needs to learn as an entity, needs to learn their lessons and not make the same mistakes again and again and again. I've only been doing this now, it's my third cycle, so I'm very new, relatively speaking, compared to everything. And I can tell you, if a business operated like this, people would be
Oh, yeah.
gone. I mean, this would not fly in a private organization, like the way things.
But it's not.
No, exactly.
Well, it's not a private organization, and that is
No.
a difficulty. You have 3 select board members that are here a few hours a night for
Yeah.
meetings, so.
Yeah. No, I get that.
Two of us at least work full-time, so we're not around during the day to run these operations. We have town administrators, we're on my 5th administrator in 6 years that I've been in, so I mean, that's the person in control of these things. It's hard for them to get a feel for it and keep it on, and we're on our 3rd or 4th treasurer. I mean,
No, it's hard.
The problems
Yeah.
with people rolling in are very difficult, and it's.
That's another
it's-
challenge of a
it's-
small town, though, because you don't have the money to pay for them.
And this big software change we did that was gonna happen in July still hasn't happened yet, which was supposed to help ease these things, and that's turned into be a much more difficult process than that was planned on. Was hopefully gonna smooth out a lot of free cash issues and make things done in a timely manner. Still not.
Well, we could debate that for hours.
Yeah.
We're gonna get back on track here, though,
Yeah.
because I wanna try. get
We
home
were on the
as well.
finance committee budget.
Yes, finance committee.
You gotta cut them guys.
Level funded at $1,000. That covers, the materials that are necessary in order to have the finance book at town meeting and that kind of stuff, so. All right, moving on to town buildings. We have the custodian's salary stays the same, as well as his longevity stipend. I took out the funding for the repairs to town buildings because that account, we never really spend anything out of the account, and we might as well, like, if we need little repairs, right, we just take them out of like the Henry Woods building account, or if it's the fire department, they have their expense account. So the account to me really didn't make a whole lot of sense to have, because every building has their own expense account. And really, if something did happen, that needed additional funding, the likelihood that it would be under $2,500 is slim. So we need that money elsewhere this year. As I mentioned at the last meeting, our electricity rates are doubling in November. So we're gonna see a increase in our electric bills, so that's why there's an increase for the Henry Woods building, the town hall bill, maintenance fund, as well as the public safety building. The public safety building is, again, it's one of those buildings where we have some issues with the HVAC mini splits that we are continuously trying to solve, and then when we think we solve them and we're not going to need an increase in the next year's budget, like a similar issue or an entirely different issue pops up with that building, and we continue to run high on that account. And I still think that these numbers need to be refined and revisited. I'm trying to be as conservative as possible, given the fact that all of our new revenue is eaten up by, some other expenses that we have. But I do want to mention that I talked with the DOR, and we are going to be able to, we do have the option to debt exclude the old debt that we have on the books
That's a good option.
under the levy limit. So that'll open up about, $170,000 worth of revenue that will really allow us to have some breathing room. It's still gonna be tight, but, I feel a lot better knowing that. I don't know all of the ins and outs on how we are going to accomplish this, because ideally, this would have, this question would have had to have gone on the local election ballot. And since we're too late for that deadline, I have to look at the process of going through with a debt exclusion and make recommendations on when to have a special election to get that question on the ballot. Because that's the only, I think at this point, that is, unless we have some wealthy donor, I just don't really see us being able to make all of our ends meet with some of the, mandatory expenses that we have coming up this year. Not even talking about the schools yet, unfortunately. Moving on to central purchasing. Postage has gone up to, I think, 62 to 63 cents per stamp. So we're going to see a little bit of an increase there. In the expenditures report this year, we're going to see a little bit of an increase in the postage budget. That wasn't planned because we had a company that did all of our mailing for tax bills, and they went out of business. So we had to do all of the stuffing and mailing, and so we didn't get the discounted rate for postage and other, so it's definitely cheaper for us to have another company do all of this mailing. Our treasurer is working on a contract with, I think he mentioned it, he may have mentioned it at the last meeting, but he's working on a contract with the business that kind of took over the operations of the old business that was doing the mailing for us, and just about every other town in Massachusetts. So how the business wasn't, thriving, I don't know, but it was a big, kind of a big hit for a small town like us where our staffing resources are super limited, and when you're stuffing, a whole bunch of tax bills, it's very time consuming. Not to mention, we did have to pay the, whatever the market rate for postage is, 62 or 63 cents per stamp. I'm gonna keep the town report expense at level funded. We come really close to that number every year. Last year we went a little over because there was a misprint, and we needed, with the dedication to Jim Baird, so we wanted to make sure that there were a couple of reports that were correct for our records and, for his family. So but I'm working with my assistant on cutting down what's in the report so it's not so long, and that's really what attributes to the cost. It's a pretty thick town report, a lot thicker than I think it needs to be, and a lot of towns aren't that long. So we are working out on cutting it back, and hopefully we will see some savings on that.
Can you launch a bridged report? An abridged report that you publish, it maybe have a full report available online to people.
We do have,
And if it's an abridged one, maybe you really cut it back.
Yeah.
so we do have the report online, and we've cut way back on the number of volumes of the report that we order, but we are required for the town clerk's office, for the state secretary, I think it's the Secretary of State's office. There's just a number of different copies that we have to have of the full version in hard copy for various agencies, including the town clerk's office. So,
How many of those do we traditionally, because that's handed out usually at the annual, right?
yes, and the past couple of years we've been pushing the QR code at town meeting and not handing out so many. I want to say last year we ordered like 100 books, maybe 100 books. It might have been a little bit less than that. And we've noticed that there's no surplus at the end. Like,
No,
maybe-
there was some comments that there wasn't enough books.
yeah, maybe 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I mean, we have stacks of town reports, like, just everywhere. And I don't like that type of clutter personally. And I know that a lot of people, they might look for one budget or they might look for one thing, and then never look at it again. So they kind of just stack up in random places. And
No, I'm just thinking out loud here, like with that, like going more electronic, so folks can be prepared, do we put that report out, we put it out prior
prior
to
to
the
the town meeting.
How many weeks prior?
That's a good question. I think we have it out by the time the public hearing happens.
Okay.
I want to say that's when we first start pushing out the QR code for people to use, is at the public hearing, and then make it available. We put it around the building for people to scan and
Senior center and all the other
Yeah.
warrant posting places.
right. So we're trying to make a move towards that direction.
Okay.
The
But we
more
still required so many hard copies, so we have to actually,
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to say it's approximately 10 to 15 hard copies that we have to have either for
whether you print 15
wherever.
or 50, it probably doesn't change
Yeah,
as much.
yeah,
It's-
exactly.
it's-
Because when you get over that next bundle, there's usually,
Yeah.
like you said,
Right.
0 to 50 is one price, 50 to 100 is another price.
Right. And it goes down a little bit when you go more, but
Yeah.
there's gotta be a certain hit just to set it up. It's-
The next budget that we have is a street lighting account.
What's your favorite account, Brian?
Yes, Brian. I still haven't heard back from our National Grid rep on when the
Yeah.
project's
LEDs.
gonna be done. But I've noticed, I think West Street recently got done because I was on my way home from work one night and I was driving. I was like, oh my gosh, the lights are so bright.
Yeah.
They must have just changed them. So I know that they're making progress. But again, our electricity rate is going up. So I know we're not gonna have,
Right.
as much of a savings as I was hoping for in that account.
Well, still, the LEDs are so much cheaper.
Oh, yeah.
to buy.
That's a big,
Yes.
that's a
The
significant.
bigger expense of this was paying them to do it, not the electricity expense.
We aren't paying them.
We didn't pay them to
No.
replace them.
We don't pay them
Nope.
to replace the LEDs.
Nope.
The state's
Oh,
paying.
we,
No, National Grid, it's actually in National Grid's best interest that they change them all out. Because now they don't have to replace these halogen bulbs so often. The halogen, or whatever they're called, sodium, whatever. The yellow, orangish yellow lights that, we used to have everywhere. They drive up National Grid's electricity usage. So they don't want lights.
What was the deal we wound up doing? The original deal they
Yes,
wanted
yes,
us
there
to
was.
pay, it was gonna
Right.
cost way too much to switch
That's right.
lights, we didn't do it.
You're
So
right.
I know they came back with something that was better, but I thought we were still,
No,
No.
there was two options. One, the town could have bought the lights.
Then we'd be responsible.
And then we would be responsible for maintaining in the event like a car, hit a pole, knocked over.
and installing the lights too.
Yeah, and we would have to be responsible for all of that thing, which was just, never mind the cost of purchasing the lights. The cost of purchasing the lights for a bigger town with a bigger operation probably would have made a lot of sense. But in a community like ours, where we just don't have those resources, it didn't make sense for us to purchase them, and it's in our best interest that National Grid continues to maintain them. So.
Last meeting, I was mentioning the fact that there are several streetlights that are out that we're paying for. And, nobody seems to be in charge. I mean, who checks it out?
Yeah,
They used to-
sometimes.
They used to have a guy that drove around town, and if he see the light out, he'd put it back, he'd
Yeah,
replace it. But they
I mean,
don't-
I
they don't
usually-
do that.
I think I mentioned at the last meeting that I do
Yeah.
have like the police. If they notice it, they'll let me know.
I called them. And they said they put it on the maintenance agenda.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
pretty good.
the next account is the holiday decorations, which we already gone
It
over.
wasn't gonna be, I was gonna take the work.
And what about Wachusett Greenway?
Is that right?
Wachusett Greenway. Well, do you want me to go through like the retirement health insurance and stuff?
Oh, yes,
Yeah, yeah.
yes, I must, where is that on the
It's
sheet?
like
That's
different
after
tabs on the bottom.
holiday decorations.
Holiday decorations, oh, there it is, county.
Yep. county retirement. So here's where we get into issues, right? County retirement is going up $81,000, and that's 27% of our new revenues, right there, right off the bat for a retirement account. And this is because, you know, there's COLAs that the retirees get every year. There's additional expenses depending on, you know, the age of our employees. But across the board, you know, everybody in Worcester County has seen a pretty significant increase in their retiree budget. And so this is where, like, personally, I start to get concerned, because although taking care of our retirees is important, having the retirement benefit for our employees is very important and not negotiable, right? Like, this isn't something that we have much control over. You know, it is taking a big chunk of our new revenue.
So what are they saying the increase is for? That it's a good jump, 17%?
So, yep, so it is due to COLAs and also just the cost of having employees as pensionable, having a pensionable benefit. It is, it's expensive.
And this is all of the,
Because as our wages go up, our pension goes up. So every time our wage goes up, our contribution to the retirement system also goes up. So
this is like everyone,
17% jump is a huge.
is that because of the renegotiations of CBAs and stuff like that, or?
Do we have new
Um,
retirees?
no, because we're
That would
in,
jump it up, right?
some of it might be
Most
because of
of
the
our
fire
people
department, but
leave,
are
they
still in
retire.
negotiations with our police and our DPW. So I'm
This white retired.
still need to do a little bit more research as to why it went up so much, but it's not something that we have a lot of control over. There's a number of factors that Worcester Retirement uses to get to this number, and
And that would hurt
yeah.
post-employment
So
benefits.
I do need a little bit more information.
Now, what about
That's
the
why
current,
What?
what about the current year? Here, hold on, guys. What about the current year with, because we're close, is that a solid,
So we pay once a year.
okay,
Yep. So every year, as long as we have our payment in by the first payroll or the first warrant of the new fiscal year, we do get a discount. So I think this year is what, 8,000 something. So that will, we will get a discount off of paying early, but it's not going to be enough to
yeah, it's not gonna be
ease
off.
my concerns.
So that 8,000, that's gonna stay there and that'll go as an overage
Yep.
on the okay. Steph, do you have any questions to this point? I don't want to forget about you over there.
Nope, you're fine. I'm trying to take it all in. I'm taking my notes. You're okay.
All right,
I don't think so.
okay. All right,
And we did put another officer on this year, so that does have another individual for retirement.
yeah. Well, that,
It's gonna be some of the increase, but. still,
and
it's,
this new ambulance folks, right?
We have 2 new benefited employees in the fire department. We have a new benefited employee with the police department.
I think we brought that up, I mean,
so,
last
so-
year.
So that's probably why it's hitting 17 so high, is we get, we put on 4 new employees in general.
And then the labor rates have gone up, right? Everyone,
Mm-hmm.
the rates are going up everywhere. Everything's going up.
Everything's going up. And now we're gonna get into insurance. Talk about things going up. Health insurance. We don't have a locked-in rate yet, but we're looking at approximately, somewhere between 4 and 5% increase. We usually always have a little bit of a padding in our health insurance budget, just to make sure that if we have, change in staff, somebody picks up insurance, somebody they have a baby, they need to add on the family insurance. So we make sure that we have a little bit of a padding in there. So we're good on that budget for this year. But I do anticipate a 4 to 5% increase in health insurance this year. I decreased the unemployment insurance just because, historically we just haven't been coming anywhere close to what's budgeted, and as you guys know, I'm looking for every dollar to kind of help offset some of the other
Yeah.
budgets that we have.
Yeah, even current year, that's, there's only been $2,000, 2,200 used up of that account, so.
Yeah. And then the Medicare budget, I think it looks like we might slightly go over this year, so I wanted to add some more to that account. And Medicare, essentially, we pay 50% insurance for retirees. So we get more retirees. Not that we have one retiree every, probably in the next 5 years, we'll probably have a lot of retirees, actually.
Now, is there a schedule, of, employees that are, is it planned out? How detailed do you get in planning retirement?
So we just had a retirement meeting back in December. I think it was mid-December we had a retirement meeting to educate the employees about their options. And I think a lot more people realized that they're closer to retirement than they were planning on being. So we're going to revisit that plan on when we anticipate, folks retiring.
Because as you know, one thing that I've always, since I've been here, I was surprised that the town doesn't forecast.
Mm-hmm. I've been working on that this year. I've made a lot of progress on a forecast between revenues, expenses, revenues and expenses. So I am almost done with it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's great. Because, forecasting will help out, especially because those are the line items that tend to always go up
Yes.
over time, and then they can be hit as unexpected, seemingly unexpected, but just that folks weren't paying attention, right?
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden you got 20 people, what do you mean we have 20 people retiring next year? It's like, well, they worked here for 30, 40 years. The time was coming. They were going to retire. So I'm glad to hear that we're starting to get forecasting in to make it a little bit easier.
Yep.
With budgeting for the town.
I think we're still probably way from the under budget in the OPEB account we're supposed to be.
Oh, yeah, significantly.
That's not, it's not something you can afford to just spend it down and lose it. It's supposed to be bearing interest enough to cover some of those expenses, and it's not there yet. So, once again, where do we get that from? But it's gotta start climbing.
The general insurance account on the next sheet, this covers all of our physical assets, so buildings, vehicles, equipment. This year, we were doing good on what we were quoted for insurance, and then we had a mid-year audit that pushed our expenses over what we had projected. And I put the $200,000 number in there as a placeholder for now because I don't have that quote yet. They don't do audits every year, so I'm more confident that this, that when we go into FY24, that will be.
When you say general, what's that hitting? Is that hitting like buildings, vehicles, and
The general insurance?
yeah,
Yep, it covers all of our physical assets, so our buildings, our vehicles, our equipment.
liability
All
on
of
our
it.
town properties or no?
Liability for public officials, cybersecurity, all of that.
So when you say the audit did it, it went up, or they did an audit and then went up?
Yeah.
Is
Did they
that,
determine we have more exposure or?
yeah.
Yep. Yeah, essentially, it did.
Well, we bringing on new equipment. That's one thing.
Yep.
Brought another dump truck, brought on a new ambulance, right?
New engine.
Yeah, and now 2 years from now, it'll probably jump again, because they're gonna be coming another ambulance, right, and 2 new fire trucks.
Well, there's always 2 ambulances, so,
It'll offset.
yeah, they'll offset, but the new fire engines, yeah, they'll have a,
Makes
marginal
sense.
difference in value
Right.
than the older ones.
So that is what I have for you today.
Okay.
Like, as I mentioned, there's still some, a lot of things that are up in the air that I am working on refining. And as I gather more information, I'll just, keep you all updated on where we are. But I think as I've mentioned, the common theme is that costs are not going down this year.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be, that's gonna be the tough spot, is, it's gonna have to be, something's gonna have to get trimmed out.
Yep.
There's no way the budget can maintain, like even this year, with the overtime from the DPW, police, the treasurer collector overtime, salary change with Alex leaving. That's eaten into all of these small little buckets that don't get spent to their full capacity. Right now, we are, for fiscal year to date, 57.28% spent as of, what was the day, the 9th?
Yes, and we're about 62% of the way through the year.
Yes, I mean, we're really
It's gonna be
close. It
close.
might come out fully balanced, but it's not gonna be a lot of extra.
Free cash.
I get frustrated with the overtime, when the DPW was lining up all their pavings on Fridays, and, I always understood, and I don't know how we stop this, that they can't just go spend overtime unless we approve it. They have to say, nope, we gotta do it on a different day, and the police should have to say, nope, you've gotta leave that shift open, not blindly fill it and assume we're paying overtime. When you do a layoff, if you keep pushing overtime, you wind up losing that new officer you just put on it, and we don't wanna do that. But if it means leaving a shift open, then by God, leave a day shift open and cover your night shift. Do you know what I mean? I think we need to maybe push back in the departments a little bit and say, you can't just assume you can take overtime, because they can't.
No, I agree.
Next year, they won't be able to.
And I'm frustrated that they do it, because, in the DPW especially,
So,
who says they can just take overtime like that? It's not in the budget, to just take
well,
it.
somebody might say you're micromanaging if you.
No, but the way the law works, you can't spend money unless it's approved, and you can't overspend your budget.
I agree with
None of us are allowed to, and even at the end of the year, we can't even shift money till May, to try to cover things. It's not like anyone can just say, oh, we're just,
Yeah, no.
it's approved at town meeting and that's the budget, and you can't just assume more, any of us. The selectmen don't have the right to say.
And they may not go, I mean, well, DPW is already over, right, on overtime?
Police definitely have a
Yeah.
hard time.
Police are close, they could tighten it up and not go over.
But if they leave a shift open and don't backfill a shift here and there, that's what you do. I mean, you can. The ambulance staffing is, it's challenging, but we have to at least staff an ALS 24 hours a day, because once you start that service, you have to offer it, but you don't necessarily have to staff the station. But when he does it per diem, I don't know how much, if that saves us anything over having the personnel there.
Actually, the ambulance is doing
They
well
usually-
this year as far as, the income.
He usually justifies it that way. If you
Yeah.
put a person on, it's usually
Yeah.
more than offsetting it.
Yeah.
So at least there's a place you put, when
Right.
you say, okay, we're missing 50 second ambulance calls. There's $50,000, if we collect 3/4 of it, or 2/3, it's 35,000, so we stick a person on for those, whatever hours he needs it.
Yeah,
He usually does a good job in justifying
yeah,
it.
he's correct.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the best example to use for them for it, because they do cover with what they have.
Right.
There is a chance on the DPW that their road salaries comes in under to offset the overtime.
Okay.
Well, it will, because we are understaffed right now. So we have one position that's been open for a couple of months, so that account should absolutely come in under.
But the fuel account, they're already
Yeah.
$8,000 over.
And
on
we knew
fuel.
that when we had to
Yeah.
make our adjustments at town meeting,
tough
to
mess.
accommodate the school budget, we knew that was gonna be something that we would have to revisit, at a special town meeting.
And is there still a plan to have a special town meeting in?
Yes, yeah, we have, our books are closed, we're just waiting on the DOR to certify free cash, and once we have, free cash certified, we're gonna evaluate how much we have, what we can invest it in, and then have a special town meeting.
Exciting, exciting.
Exciting stuff. All right, so let's circle back around for minutes from 1:13,
31.
1:31. There we go, 1:31. Was there any questions? I reviewed the minutes. Everyone have a chance to review the minutes?
I did.
Any questions, comments, concerns on the minutes?
Make a motion, we accept the minutes of 1:31,
I second that.
2022.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from 1:31. All in favor? Aye. And we do have to reorganize the committee because we probably should have did it before the start of the budget cycle, and it didn't happen. So we will do that. Unfortunately, Carrie, like I said, is likely, very likely, a 99.9% chance of not coming back. So that opens up the clerk position, and I'm not quite sure where Corey's been. So I don't know if he's, I haven't heard from him. I don't know.
I'll check him.
Yeah, I've seen him at the school and stuff. I'm just not sure where he's been. So we have us 5 here, and we can go through and make nominations.
I nominate Dan Jewell for chairman.
Second that.
Can I third that?
I am honored for this budget cycle. I will stick with. I'm not. We'll go one day at a time. So we have a nomination. We need a motion. Correct?
Motion. I make a motion, what's the motion?
Is that how it works, Jessica? I
Yeah,
don't
do
know.
we
you
have a
vote
motion
him
to
in as
keep
chair.
Dan as
Yeah.
the chair?
Yeah, you make a motion to, well, you're not already nominated, so you already made the motion to nominate him, you accepted, so it
I
becomes,
accepted.
it's
Okay.
already, you're all set.
All right, great. We also need vice chair. Brian's currently the vice chair.
Yeah.
Do you want to be the vice chair, Leanne? We have
Leanne, you have
Eric. Would
interest?
you? No.
I'm gonna nominate him to
Brian.
be, yeah, Brian can be the vice chair again.
Well, you're setting yourself up for a different position.
Okay, I accept.
I second that nomination for Brian to be vice chair. And we also need a clerk. Eric, do you have any interest in being a clerk?
I'd like to contribute, but I have hard enough time keeping up with what we're doing. The clerk's job is to write the minutes of all
No,
these.
No. That's
the
it.
clerk's job.
You kind of just sign the minutes.
We have this.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, that's what I've been taking the minutes just because Sandy's workload has been overwhelming. And I can,
It's overwhelming now.
as you noticed, the minutes that Sandy does and the minutes that I do are a lot different. So, like, I have the minutes basically done for tonight. I can do it as I discuss and review and keep it concise, and so I don't mind, doing it at this time.
Thank you.
But what was Carrie doing?
Carrie actually did the minutes.
Did she?
She did
Good for her.
for the meetings that Sandy wasn't able to make it, she was doing the minutes, so it is fair game.
Do you have any interest, Lee?
I mean, I can't even figure out how to get my computer to connect to the internet, but,
We could always it's team effort. We can figure it out.
I think the third common option is to throw the newest person into the wolves.
Yeah.
Mm.
We could always,
Oh, she's on mine,
Just throw me into the dust.
oh yeah, we have Steph as well, just joining us. I'll leave it up to the committee to decide.
We got a position.
I know, I'm
What do we
good.
do?
I mean, you show up.
I mean, I'll do it, I just don't really know
I'm
how
gonna
to do
nominate
it, so maybe I can look
Leanne
some
as
old
the,
meeting
I'm gonna nominate
minutes.
Leanne for clerk for the 24 budget cycle.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. There we go.
All right.
So that's good, we are reorganized. We will meet back here in 2 weeks.
Yep.
Same time, 6:30 PM.
I think was that the 28th?
Is it already the 28th? Yeah, that would be 2 weeks from today, the 28th.
You gonna join us in
Is there any, before we go,
Yep, finance committee, 6:30.
We'll see, I'm negotiating union for the police right now, so I don't know if I wanna mix the.
Steph, do you have any items you want for open discussion?
But yeah, I'd have input on that.
No.
Okay. It's a lot to take in. I mean, all of our meetings are on the YouTube page. So if you want to, familiarize yourself with the whole process, you're more than welcome to. We've already had a meeting last week, so if you want to get brought up to speed, that's probably the best place to go to kind of take a dive into the departments we met with. We met with the school superintendent last week. There was a couple other, the town treasurer we met with last week. And then there was a couple other smaller committees or commissions that the historical commission.
Yep.
We met with as well. So that's a good spot to go and just kind of get yourself caught up with those things. And, you're more than welcome to join us via Zoom. If you're able to make it here in person, that's always an option for you as well. And yeah, if you don't have anything from us, I'm going to ask that we make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll make a motion for
Sounds
adjournment.
good.
I'll second it.
All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.